Welcome to NTD Evening News. Our top stories tonight. President Joe Biden took another trip to Florida today. He announced more than $500 million in funding to support communities impacted by two recent hurricanes. The U.S. sending nearly 100 troops along with advanced military technology to Israel. We'll have those details. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warning the UN Secretary General to evacuate forces from the danger zone. He says Hezbollah is using the troops as human shields. Former President Trump speaks to an enthusiastic crowd in Prescott, Arizona today. This is Trump's fourth Arizona stop since June, as polls show a razor-thin presidential race in the state. Vice President Kamala Harris delivers remarks at a Sunday church service in North Carolina as she appeals to black voters in the crucial battleground state. And stick around to see SpaceX's latest achievement as it gets closer to interplanetary travel.
This is NTD Evening News, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Brendan Fallon. President Joe Biden announces $612 million in funding for the electric grid project as he visits Florida for the second time in 2 weeks. Arlene Richards has more on the visit.
President Biden on Sunday lands in Tampa, Florida to survey the damage caused by Hurricane Milton. At a press conference, he announced more than $500 million for electric grid projects.
Today, I'm proud to announce $612 million to 6 new cutting-edge projects to support communities impacted by Hurricane Helene and Milton. That includes $47 million for Gainesville Regional Utilities and another $47 million for Florida Power and Light.
He said the funding will restore power to the region and make its system stronger and more capable as major weather events become more frequent. Before speaking to the press, the president flew by helicopter to St. Pete's Beach. Then his motorcade drove along the highway viewing debris, fallen trees, and homes destroyed. He empathized with people affected by the storm.
I spoke with first responders who've been working around the clock. I also met with small business owners here and homeowners who have taken a real beating these back-to-back storms. And they're heartbroken and exhausted, and their expenses are piling up.
Biden said there's been a whole government effort, including assistance from FEMA, to provide aid to communities. He previously pressed House Speaker Mike Johnson for congressional approval of more aid money before the November election. Johnson told CBS News on Sunday the extra aid can wait.
Well, it can wait because remember the day before Hurricane Helene made landfall in Florida and then went up through the states and wound up in Senator Tillis's state of North Carolina. Congress appropriated $20 billion additional dollars to FEMA so that they would have the necessary resources to address immediate needs. And so we put that into the coffers. I just checked, Margaret, as of this morning, less than 2% of that funding has actually been distributed, right around 2% of it. So we need FEMA to do its job.
Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said last week that FEMA doesn't have enough funding to make it through the hurricane season. Biden also announced that 10 disaster recovery centers were opened in Florida to give families access to federal officials. He said individuals can ask for different types of assistance, such as financial aid, no-interest payment loans, and mortgage relief. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
It's been about 4 days since Hurricane Milton made landfall on Florida's west coast as a Category 3 hurricane, and still flooding and power blackouts are making some homes uninhabitable. NTD's Jack Bradley reports from Tampa.
We're here in Lutz, North Tampa, where many residents just inland of Tampa experience a lot of flooding in an area that normally is out of the flood zone. Take a look at this house over here, which is completely covered in water in their front yard. The owner tells me that this is much better than it looked like a couple days ago when the hurricane ripped through here, causing many trees to snap and crash onto their roof, hit the telephone poles, and causing them to fall. The owner says that the devastation here is pretty dramatic. Take a look.
The water got to within about 2 inches of our front door. our house, their house. I know the guys across the street, they actually had water going through their house. I'm from Asheville originally, so seeing what they're going through up there makes it a lot easier for us here because, you know, as bad as people have it here, it's nothing like what they're dealing with up there.
Authorities say over 1,000 people have been rescued from floodwaters or other hazards. Power blackouts remain a major problem, impacting around 1 million residents across the state. That's after 2.5 million people had their power go out and then restored since the storm hit on Wednesday night. Residents are also experiencing fuel shortages. Many gas stations remain closed. And so Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announcing Saturday the opening of temporary fuel depots. Residents can get 10 gallons each free of charge.
I see a lot of people waiting in lines for the gas stations that do have power, and these are really long lines. And obviously, as power gets restored, maybe some of them have generators that they can get on, and then the Port of Tampa's open. You're going to see the fuel flowing. But in the meantime, we want to give people another option.
The fuel shortage comes as residents who evacuated are making their way back home on crowded highways. Milton killed at least 17 people. It also caused severe damage to infrastructure, tearing the roof off of the Tampa Bay Rays baseball stadium, which was supposed to house emergency first responders. As recovery efforts are underway here in the state of Florida, down power lines still causing problems with utility workers helping out residents nearby, and flooding across the state still posing a problem. It's going to be a long road ahead until people get back on their feet. Reporting from Tampa, Florida, Jack Bradley, NTD News. Thank you, guys. Thanks.
With 23 days left until Election Day, both presidential candidates are intensifying their efforts to sway voters. Vice President Kamala Harris today delivered remarks at a church service in Greenville, North Carolina. NTD's Don Ma has more.
Vice President Kamala Harris took her campaign to Greenville, North Carolina on Sunday. Harris spoke at Koinonia Christian Center. She shared a message of faith and unity. Her remarks followed the hurricane response efforts in the area.
As we navigate storms that have inflicted so much harm across our country, and to all those who have loved ones who have been affected by Hurricane Milton and Hurricane Helene, Doug and I, my husband, are holding all of you close in our hearts and in our prayers.
Harris took the stage in the middle of the service. During her address to the predominantly black congregation, Harris recognized the heroes who have supported recovery efforts following Hurricane Helene.
The people of Greenville, like all Americans, have been inspired by the way communities are coming together, Bishop, in the wake of these storms. Amid ruined homes, downed power lines, swollen rivers that have been choked with debris, we have seen children rescued by neighbors in a kayak. We have seen those who have lost everything gathering donations for others.
Harris added that now is the time to live up to the fundamental values that reflect our nation at its best, the values of compassion and community and honesty and decency.
Thank you, Church.
North Carolina is one of the major battleground states. The Real Clear Politics polling average showed that Trump has a very slim lead over Harris in North Carolina. The state has only supported Democratic presidential candidates twice in the last 50 years. Don Ma, NTD News.
Former President Trump spoke at a rally in Prescott, Arizona this afternoon with a message to secure the border. Supporters gathered before the rally.
It's important to show your support and show that this movement is huge and that this is who we need to run our country.
The Republican presidential candidate visits the battleground state for the fourth time, with past visits in June, August, and just last month at a rally in Tucson. The presidential race in Arizona is at a dead heat, according to recent polls. In 2020, Trump lost Arizona by just under 11,000 votes.
I'm thrilled to be back in this beautiful state with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. That's you. You are hardworking and you are patriots. Early voting by mail, we're finally there. Take back our country. Early voting by mail and in person opened in Arizona earlier this week, so If you have a ballot, return it immediately. And if not, go vote. Get your you-know-what app and vote.
Actor Dennis Quaid endorsing former President Trump for re-election. The Hollywood star spoke in Coachella, California yesterday, a town best known for its annual music festival.
Are we going to be a nation of law and order? Or wide open borders? Which is it? Because it's time to pick a side.
Quaid compared this year's election to 1980 when Ronald Reagan was elected. He mentioned similarities such as high inflation and tensions with Iran. Quaid also told the story of how he sponsored an illegal immigrant to get a green card. His housekeeper had been in the country for 10 years, fearing deportation. Quaid says she's now in the process of becoming a citizen. A man who allegedly said he wanted to kill the president has been arrested. The Riverside County Sheriff's Department arrested him outside a Trump rally in Coachella, California on Saturday. In a text message to the Epoch Times, Sheriff Chad Bianco said they arrested 49-year-old Vem Miller while he was trying to get in the perimeter with 2 firearms. Miller reportedly said he was going to kill the president. Authorities said the incident did not impact the safety of former President Trump. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issued a statement today urging the UN Secretary General to evacuate peacekeeping forces from the danger zone. NTD's Fiona G. has the latest.
Mr. Secretary General, get the UNIFIL forces out of harm's way. It should be done right now, immediately.
In the statement, Netanyahu said that leaving the forces there made them human shields for Hezbollah. He also stated that previous requests for the UN to evacuate were all refused. The appeal came after fire from the Israel Defense Forces, or IDF, hit UN peacekeeping bases in Lebanon twice at Israel's northern border. International leaders, including the Italian Prime Minister and French President, condemned Israel's actions. The IDF also announced today that Hezbollah fired 115 projectiles into Israeli territory. The Israeli military has itself targeted and hit 240 targets in Gaza and Lebanon this weekend. A drone attack wounded at least 20 people in the northern Israeli town of Binyamina today, as reported by N12 News Television. Israeli media later reported that at least 40 were injured. Video footage showed a helicopter carrying those wounded in the attack landing at a hospital near Tel Aviv. The head of Israel's ambulance service said that at least 5 people were badly hurt. Fiona G., NTD News.
The U.S. is sending an advanced anti-missile system to Israel. It's designed to intercept and destroy medium and short-range ballistic missiles. A Pentagon statement says the missile defense system will further strengthen Israel's air defenses. Along with the technology, the U.S. will send around 100 troops to operate it. The statement emphasizes the action underscores the United States' ironclad commitment to the defense of Israel. The move comes despite Iran warning Washington to keep American forces out of Israel. The decision also follows Iranian missile attacks on Israel in April and October. The anti-missile system can defend against targets at ranges of 93 to 124 miles. However, it is not immediately clear where the technology is coming from or when it will arrive. Joining us here to discuss more on these developments is Middle East Affairs Analyst Jared Filiti. He's also an attorney specializing in international law and human rights. Jared, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
To start with, I'd like your view on Netanyahu's warning to the UN that we just heard earlier. What do you think that statement says about his next steps in this war?
Netanyahu's statement acknowledges where we are in reality, that there is a state of war between Hezbollah and Israel, and that the United Nations should not be in a position where it is being used or manipulated into being targets. The members of the UNFIL team who are still in southern Lebanon are prudent to evacuate and not be in the line of fire in an active war zone. Peacekeepers have a role, but their role is not to be involved in active combat. So what we see from Prime Minister Netanyahu is an acknowledgement of the state of war that exists between Hezbollah and Israel, and one that is not likely to end anytime soon.
Netanyahu also says that Hezbollah uses these troops as human shields. He also says the IDF has asked for these evacuations before and was refused. Why would the UN not want to pull these personnel from the area?
The UN is very much a political body that is subject to the whims of the countries on the Security Council that control these troops. And many of these countries are not friends of Israel. Many of these countries don't care if there are people or whether it's civilians or United Nations forces in harm's way. Ultimately, they claim to be there for the better good. However, what we're seeing is that they are being used to shield Hezbollah terrorists. We see that Hezbollah has constructed tunnels with 100 meters of UN observation posts, which is ridiculous to think that the United Nations has not seen how Hezbollah has been preparing for war. If anything, the UN forces can be said to be assisting Hezbollah in the run-up to this war rather than doing anything to keep the peace. So what we see here is the reality. The reality is that the United Nations has not been unbiased. You're seeing on screen now a very tunnel which was found within sight of the United Nations forces. So this calls into question the impartiality of UN troops and whether they are being willfully or negligently being manipulated to be in a situation that is beneficial to a terrorist organization.
And speaking of Hezbollah, Jared, I'd like your thoughts on this soundbite, which we'll play now.
Another thing that I want to emphasize is how much we close to the UN base in your right. It's less than 200 meters from us. Actually, we are standing in a military base of Hezbollah, very close to the UN.
And these Hezbollah tunnels were found just 200 meters from a UN station. These couldn't possibly have been planned, mapped out, and dug in a very short period of time. What does this say to you?
The UN has been there since 1978. They're very much complicit in allowing Hezbollah to position itself militarily in southern Lebanon, just as they have been in Gaza. We saw with UNRWA, UN schools were being used to facilitate tunnel access by Hamas. The same thing is what we're seeing in Lebanon. We're seeing the United Nations being used by Hezbollah as cover for their terrorist operations and to prepare for war. It's ridiculous to think that the United Nations is impartial in these countries, and it's very dangerous for its forces to continue to be there.
And Jared, on the topic of American involvement, the latest is the THAAD system and 100 U.S. troops being sent to Israel. Is this significant?
It is significant. It shows America's continued commitment to the security of Israel and the anticipation that we may well see another round of ballistic missiles that will be launched at Israel, whether from Iran or from proxies like the Houthis in Yemen or from Syria or from Iraq. Ultimately, the United States has made clear the position of this government to support the state of Israel. And that means that right now, when the principal threat from Iran is not just terrorism, but missiles, this missile system will help protect Israeli civilian lives from another barrage of terror.
And finally, before we go, a focus on Iran. We have heard the Iranian foreign minister say there are no red lines when it comes to defending Iran's interests. What are you expecting next from Iran?
Since the Iranian Revolution in 1979, it has been a state committed to the destruction of the state of Israel. What we expect is what we're seeing and what we continue to see. Iran using its proxies, its terrorist organizations like Hamas and Hezbollah, as well as direct military intervention to attack Israel. So we can expect right now that after Israel retaliates for the last round of missiles that came from Iran, Iran may very well escalate and continue finding new ways to launch missiles at Israel or to threaten the Gulf countries that have been supportive or at least have stood against Iran, countries that are responsible for a lot of the oil output that we see in the world. So there is a threat of regional instability that is posed by Iran and its continuing military adventurism.
Middle East Affairs Analyst Jared Falidi, thank you for your insights.
Thank you.
Up next, stick around to see the latest accomplishments from SpaceX as it gets closer to interplanetary travel. Italy's government opened facilities in Albania to hold illegal immigrants. The success of the country's new policies has prompted other European countries to consider following its lead. Stay tuned for more of that and more after the break.
1 in 5 children worldwide are faced with the reality of living without food. No family dinners, no special treats, not enough energy to play. All around the world, hunger is affecting children's physical and mental health. Toddlers are suffering from acute malnutrition, which stunts their growth. Kids are forced to drop out of school so they can help support their families. Conflict, inflation, and climate have ignited the worst famine in our lifetime. And we are fed up. Fed up that hunger devours dreams. Fed up that hunger destroys joy. Fed up with the fact that hunger eats childhood. Help us feed the futures of children all over the world by visiting givetosave.org. For as little as $10 a month, you can join Save the Children as we support children and families in desperate need of our help. Now is the time to get fed up and give back. When you join the cause, your $10 monthly donation can help communities in need of life-saving treatments and nutrients, prevent children from dropping out of school, support our work with communities and governments to help children go from short-term surviving to long-term thriving. And now, thanks to special government grants, every dollar you give can multiply up to 10 times the impact. That means more food, water, medicine, and help for kids around the world. You'll also receive a free tote bag to share your support for children in need. Having your childhood eaten away by hunger is unimaginable. Get fed up. Call us now or visit givetosave.org today.
All right, I'm at the house, and I'm gonna head inside. Okay, come on, this door. I'm in the house.
What do you see?
Let me check the den. There's nothing in the den. Let me check the kitchen. There's no one downstairs, it looks like.
Wait, what was that?
I don't know. Let me head upstairs.
What do you see?
What the? Did you shut this bathroom door?
No.
Oh,
What?
It's not here.
What do you mean?
The gun's not here.
What? Where is it?
Oh my God.
What's going on?
Cam.
Oh my God, what's going
Cameron, are you in there? Open the door. Cam, please, please, open the door, Cameron. Come on, Cam.
The Biden administration is suing Virginia election officials for purging voters. The purge started after an executive order from Governor Glenn Youngkin. Federal law requires any mass voter removal to be completed no later than 90 days before an election. Youngkin's order did come exactly 90 days before the election, but the Justice Department says removals have been ongoing since. In response, Youngkin accused the Biden administration of filing an unprecedented lawsuit. He defended Virginia's actions as common sense steps the state is legally required to take. Turning now to one of the most high-stakes region, Taiwan, the Chinese military has ramped up its military aggression since earlier today, despite Washington's warning. Taiwan's defense ministry said it spotted a Chinese military carrier sailing to the island's south earlier today, along with 8 Chinese warships and 11 warplanes. The Chinese military released a propaganda video on its social media account soon after Taiwan's statement. It showed various military drill exercises with a slogan that said, "Prepared for battle," and a Taiwanese map. Communist China sees Taiwan as its own territory and a core interest, despite never having ruled it. Taiwanese President William Lai firmly reiterated Taiwan's sovereignty 3 days ago during his National Day speech. The remarks angered Beijing. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has warned China not to use them as an excuse to threaten Taiwan. The U.S. is Taiwan's ally and is bound by law to provide it with weapons to help in its defense. Italy's government has opened new facilities in Albania to hold illegal immigrants, successfully reducing illegal immigration by 60% this year. Now, other European countries are considering adopting the same policy. NTD's international correspondent David Vives has the story.
These new centers mark a new milestone in Italy's handling of immigration. The facilities will receive male migrants intercepted in international waters. They will then process their asylum claims for Italy there. In 2023, 125,000 migrants arrived by boat, almost double the number from 2022. And this number has decreased to 45,000 this year, showing the success of Meloni's government's new policy. Italy's solution seems to be inspiring France's government. Prime Minister Michel Barnier said new agreements might be made with African and Middle Eastern countries.
The French ask us to find solutions with countries where immigrants come from, but also with countries they are transitioning by.
French Interior Minister Bruno Retailleau said centers for migrants outside of Europe could be a solution to quell immigration. France's Prime Minister announced today that a new immigration bill will be examined by Parliament in 2025. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
SpaceX has reached a new level of rocket engineering. They were able to land a rocket booster right back to where it took off from. NTD's Sean Marshall has more.
2, 1.
SpaceX launched its 400-foot tall Starship rocket at 8:25 a.m. Eastern Time today. They reached a new milestone in catching the returning booster back at the pad with mechanical arms. Elon Musk commented on X app, "Big step towards making life multiplanetary was made today." The last rocket booster return in June was the most successful yet, completing the flight without exploding. The company improved on that this time by bringing the first stage booster back to land at the pad from which it had launched just 7 minutes earlier. Usually these boosters land on floating ocean platforms or on concrete slabs several miles from their launch pads, not on them. NASA has ordered 2 Starships to land astronauts on the moon later this decade. SpaceX intends to use Starship to send people and supplies to the moon and eventually to Mars. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
Thank you for tuning in. I'm Brendan Fallon. Have a great evening.
The Kindness is Cool Video Awards are back for their second year. Record and nominate acts of kindness, both big and small, from individuals, families, and communities. Submit your videos on ganjingworld.com with the hashtag KindnessIsCool. Win a $10,000 grand prize and be featured on a New York Times Square billboard. Visit ganjingworld.com and start sharing today. Kindness is cool.
Hi, I'm Susan Lucci. I never thought about heart disease until I had my own heart event. I had heard many times that heart disease is the #1 killer. It went in one ear and out the other, frankly. I never had a health issue. I felt this slight pressure on my chest, just slight. But a few days later, while shopping at a boutique, that pressure returned, much stronger. By the time I got to the ER, the doctor decided to give me a CAT scan. He said, "I don't think you understand. You are on the verge of a heart attack." I had a 90% blockage in my main artery and a 75% blockage in the adjacent artery. I received 2 stents in my arteries, stents developed through research funded by the American Heart Association. Those stents saved my life. That's why I'm in front of you today, asking you to join me in supporting the American Heart Association by becoming a monthly donor. Call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, your support now can help save your life or the life of someone you love. With you by our side, together we'll keep fighting this battle. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special t-shirt that you can wear to show that you are helping save lives. I'm so grateful to the American Heart Association. Their research helped save my life. Put yourself on your to-do list. It could be the most important thing you ever do. Please, listen to your heart. The only reason I'm here today is because I did. So please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now. Join me as a monthly donor today and help save even more lives. Thank you.